Hey yo, speak my rants and gems. Speak my rants and gems. Y'all can do it, we discover. Peace to all the kings and the queens where the mother lie. Speak my rants and gems. Speak my rants and gems. Y'all can do it, we discover. Peace to all the kings and the queens where the mother lie.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Rants and Gems podcast. My name is Matt Garland, NMLS number 58700, but better known as MG the Mortgage Guy.
And my name is Quiana Watson, broker extraordinaire, license number 317576.
Look, Quiana, I'm going to tell you something, right? I always compliment you on your fits because you be out here big stepping. But I love when you be dressed down and shit. You got on sweats, girl CEO.
Girl CEO.
I'm liking how it's raised on here. Like,
Look.
What's going on here with this girl CEO?
I'm always working on something,
okay,
right?
What you got?
So this partnership, I'm doing a huge partnership, and me and Ronnie Brown.
Shout out to Ronnie.
Tiffany Toy, we're coming out with our own CEO membership.
Oh.
And this is our merch, so I'm repping my set right now.
Oh,
I'm repping my set.
I like that. That is dope. Girl CEO. Shout out to Tiff. Shout out to Ronnie Brown. When is this line dropping? We need some more information.
Okay,
what's going on?
Okay, the line is already pretty much dropped. Black Friday, we're making the announcement. So literally, like right after Thanksgiving, the announcement comes out, membership enrollment opens. You guys can buy your merch. We're ready for you.
Look, we love it. Girl CEO. I love to see Quiana when she dressed down. She got on tennis shoes. You know what I'm saying?
Tennis shoes.
Tennis shoes. But today's episode is going to be amazing. We got Booker T and we got Shadzilla.
Yes.
They're building micro homes or tiny homes
And let me tell you,
here in Georgia.
they're amazing.
They're amazing.
I went out to see them do the groundbreaking, and I was blown away by not just the property, but the passion behind it. Like a lot of times you see people just build a project with no passion.
Mm-hmm.
It's passion behind this project, and they're looking to rejuvenate our neighborhoods and rejuvenate areas that most people look over. Like they're serving the underserved with this project, and I'm super excited for these guys.
Look, I'm super excited. So you guys stay tuned. We're going to go to a brief commercial break, and then we're going to bring our guys out here so you guys can hear what they got to say. All right? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
All right, so today's episode is sponsored by Andre Barad of Yes to Real Estate based in Houston, Texas. Listen, Andre's my guy. He's a realtor, investor, developer of residential real estate. He's on track to close about $20 million in real estate. So if you're a real estate agent, you know $20 million, especially in a market like Houston, Texas, is not an easy thing, all right? Andre and the Yes to Real Estate team, they do deals every single day. They're working with hardworking folks and turn them into successful investors. New builds, townhomes, fix and flips, commercial properties, they do it all. So if you're looking to buy real estate in the Houston, Texas market, make sure you hit up Andre Barad and his team. Go to yes2realestateteam.com for more information. All right, guys, welcome back from that commercial break. Look, we got our guys with us today. We got Booker T. Washington and we got Shadzilla in the building, y'all. Look, this is going to be an amazing episode. I can't wait to talk to you guys about everything you guys got going on. Mm-hmm. But let's start with the first and very first question.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most important questions is, when did you guys fall in love with real estate?
Man, my story with real estate started about 4.5 years ago, and everyone's going to remember this moment. It was when the Falcons lost the Super Bowl 28-3.
Okay.
On that evening, I had insomnia. I couldn't sleep. I was up for 7-8 hours straight.
Falcons fan.
Falcons fan. I was in deep depression. So for 8 hours straight, I binge watched every show on HGTV for 8 hours straight. I woke up the next morning and said, "Oh, I'm flipping a house. This is too easy." So I partnered with a great mentor and friend of mine, Patrick Henderson.
Good guy. We had him on the show.
Shout out to Patrick.
Fantastic guy. Said, "Yo, I'm ready." He says, "Well, you got to do X, you got to do Y." I said, "Well, I don't have a whole bunch of coins." He says, "Well, you'll figure it out." So a week later, liquidated a little bit of the 401k and went to my first flip, just like that. But if it wasn't for staying up looking at HGTV, because Patrick had talked about it for a lot of time, but it wasn't until I fell in love with the process and I saw the process and I was like, yo, if they can do it, I can do it, because I got the grind in me. And then 2 weeks later, I bought my first property.
Dope.
Love it.
I love it. What about you, boss?
I fell in love with real estate when I committed. When I retired from basketball in 2015, I committed to going real estate full time. I did. I was like, I'm not doing nothing else. I'm not getting a job, nothing else. So And I didn't do my first deal for the first 6 months. So it was like, man, if I had to be in love because that was like crazy. Like for 6 months, I didn't get my first deal. But once I started, I knew it was always win. It was never if, it was always win. So, you know, my whole thing is like stay down till you come up. So, you know, I'm talking about door knocking, writing handwritten mailers, and from that to flipping to building to now development. So, you know, so that's, you know, 2015.
You say you play ball. You played in the NBA?
Yeah, I played shortly in the NBA, and I played most of my time in Europe.
Okay. So how did that experience playing professional sports help you with getting into this business? Because that's a transition, right?
Huge.
Oh, yeah.
You're making money, whether you're playing in the NBA or you're playing overseas, you're making some sort of money, right?
Yeah.
So now you get into this industry and you make no money.
Right. right.
We talk around just broke as a joke to the deal flow.
Yes.
My transition was actually easier. The hardest part for me was I didn't do my first deal for my first 6 months. See, what I did, what most people don't do is I was planning. I knew my body was breaking down. I knew I was on my way out. So I actually got my real estate license while I was still playing. So my transition was really easier. I actually made the decision to stop playing because my last team in Mexico, they started playing with my money, and I was like, oh, I ain't doing this, so I'm out. And I just started going into the office from that point on.
Wow.
I love that.
That's crazy.
Having an exit strategy. A lot of us,
Yeah.
you think you're going to be young forever. You think you can just run around forever, and you're like,
Especially athletes.
Listen, I think even
Yeah.
real estate, like even real estate agents, it's like, yeah, you running and showing 15 houses a day today.
Right. You
Right.
start building up some residual income. You got to start
Exactly.
investing. It's like when I was new into the business, I always used to run into people. I've been in the business 20 years. And I'm like, well, what you own? You know?
Can we toast to that?
Yeah.
Now,
Like,
that
what
was a gem.
What we doing? What we
Why
doing?
you still running?
That's a fact.
Because just like my body started breaking down, you'll start getting tired of running out here showing houses, open houses on
What
Sunday
you call
too.
it? Being behind the wheel?
Being behind the wheel. I used to be behind the wheel for like, that's how me and Matt met.
Yeah.
I would get that little holster in my car every morning. Good morning, you guys.
Yeah.
6 clients today. One in Henry County, one in South Florida,
yeah.
one in Alpharetta. And then I was like, you know what, Matt, when they talk to me now, he's like, yo, you behind the desk. Yeah. I strategically place myself behind the desk. You know why? I'm not in the car.
Right.
Like you have to transition. Let me build a team. Let me build a brokerage. Like the exit strategy.
Absolutely.
Right. I had a specific situation that made me switch my way of thinking. And from the moment I closed that deal, I regretted it because I was like, man, once I started doing the numbers, the guy that I helped buy it, it was an off-market deal for my handwritten mailers. And the guy that brought the deal, he controlled $1 million property for only $50,000. My commission was 40, so I was like, man, I could have
bought the building.
Yeah, I could have bought the building. So from that point on, I told myself, I'm the buyer from here on out.
Yep.
And you know, the rest is history.
And the rest is history. So take us through the first deal.
My first deal was crazy, at least starting out. So it was in the Southwest Atlanta, and it was a little brick bungalow. I bought it off market from a person that was out there just volume selling all kinds of houses. So first thing was there was a lien on the property off market. So if you're out there off market, there's always a bunch of stuff. It's never easy. So I had to work through that, liquidating savings, maxing out the credit card to get the cash to get that first property. First property was $50,000. It was a brick bungalow. Foundation was bad. I didn't know how to look at a house. I jumped out there. Foundation was bad. Needed an addition. Whole 9 yards. Thought the budget was 45. That's what the wholesalers always tell you. You know? Hey, yeah.
Never listen to the wholesaler
Construction
underwriting.
45.
They always tell you some bullshit. Always.
And then the construction ended up being 80. So I was like, oh, wow, this house is not going to resell. So at that point, I didn't know nothing about comps. I didn't know nothing about appraised value. I said, I'm in $135,000 on this 1,300 square foot house in the hood. This ain't going to never sell, right? So got started, got into it. It took us like 80 days to finish it. Maxed out every credit card, everything. It was high stress. But at the end, that house ended up being appraised for $240.
Wow. In the hood.
In the hood. Very first deal ever. And once I closed, I was like, oh, they said, well, we're going to send you a wire. I said, okay, at the end of the week, it's going to come. No, like, check your phone right now. So when that 110 hit that account just then, I'm done.
Yeah.
In love. I'm never doing anything else. Like, that's it. That's all I'm doing. And see, prior to that, I came from a corporate career. I was a human resource executive. So they was like, you know, you in human resources.
That's an annual salary.
Yeah, they like, you going to step away from well over 6 figures to do this? Shard get on me all the time. Are you going to keep doing that? Or are you going to, you know, maybe miss out on $1 million out here for a little bit over 6 figures?
Yeah. Right.
And so from that time period on, level-minded, we just kept running and running harder and harder and harder from that very first deal. So that's how I fell in love with it. It was a brick bungalow, ups and downs, contractors, hired, fired. We learned a lot of learning lessons about sweat equity. For any real estate investor, I would say you got to put in work.
Absolutely.
If even starting out, if you think you got all the systems in the world and systems are great, if you're not putting hand on hammer, hand on door, feet on ground, then just buyer beware, because it's going to end up being bad at the end. I promise you. So that's the biggest thing I learned starting out.
Man, super gems.
Yes.
Yeah.
Super.
Super gems. I think the most important thing you just said out of that is don't trust nobody else's numbers.
No.
Oh, yes.
Never.
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 Do your due diligence.
Because
Like-
if they,
Like,
I
never.
couldn't wait. Look, I say this all the time. Like, if the wholesaler knew how to run numbers, they would do the deal.
do the deal. Yeah.
Yeah, because all my deals are infinite returns. So it's like, man, like if you really know these numbers, you would do the deal because you wouldn't be out of pocket anything.
Yeah.
And you got the best purchase price. That's one thing I tell about wholesalers. If you getting the best purchase price direct with seller from your mail or what have you, and you reselling to me, I know you getting something off the top. That's cool. But why you ain't doing the flip yourself? Because them extra profits you missing out on trying to sell it to me, you could have made them bands yourself.
Right, and I know what people gonna say. Oh, I want to make the quick money. Well, you can wholesale it to yourself and then flip it.
Correct.
So you can get paid on that and then flip it down the line.
Yeah, look, it's
They
a
don't
lot
know
of
what they're
ways,
doing.
But they don't know what they're doing, and a lot of people use
And the numbers be
wholesaling
wrong.
just to
Right.
get it
Right.
right. The numbers be wrong.
The numbers be wrong.
Just straight.
The numbers be wrong.
Hey, that's a shirt. Y'all numbers be wrong.
That is definitely a shirt. Yo, bam.
Y'all numbers wrong, man.
Right there.
Yo, that's crazy. But
Yeah.
no, that's a fact though, right? What I've noticed from working with a lot of wholesalers, a lot of them just getting into business, trying to get their feet wet.
Yep.
And it's a great way to make money, right? But I always tell wholesalers, look, why don't you got your real estate license too? Like, it doesn't hurt you to have your license. You know, it's an extra revenue stream.
Right.
You just
Yeah.
don't need to wholesale. You know, you can also rent somebody an apartment
Yep.
and make some cash flow too. And then now put
Absolutely.
yourself in a position probably much faster.
Yep.
Because to
Yeah.
buy those wholesale deals,
Right.
because you're bringing in another source of revenue. So all you wholesalers out there, please
Yeah.
get your real estate license too.
And it's good that you guys started there. You started off like, listen, I got spanked. I did good. You know, you like, the numbers be wrong, but now you know the numbers. So now you know how to assess a deal. So how did you go from flip? And, you know, what led you to lead all the way to now building this community? I don't want to skip not one step.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
flipping one house, what did you do next? What happened next?
So that's actually where I met Rashad at to begin with. I started following him because I was looking for properties. I was a hunter. And I saw Rashad on Instagram. So social media page, just FYI. So I saw Rashad on social media and I kept saying, yo, I'm trying to buy a property. I'm trying to buy a property. This, you know, what numbers are you looking at? And then Rashad said, I'll go check it out. So after a couple shutdowns, Rashad said, I'll go check that. That's some bullshit. I ain't going to see that again. So after I started that and I got my real estate license, the one thing I did was I learned myself. So even though I got my real estate license, I kept a superstar real estate agent. Shout out Brandon Hunter Lewis.
Lit. Shout out to Brandy Hunter Lewis.
Shout out.
The GOAT.
The GOAT.
Let's give her the credit she deserves.
I got my license and kept her on the team for all the years I was flipping. I'd never let her go because I knew better. See, the thing about it is I knew I had my license. I knew I made some money, but you got to know yourself better to know that you can't be in that lane. You know, the reason why me and Rashad work so well is we know each other's lane. And when you're out here investing, you got to define what your lane is and work it.
Agreed.
You can't work everybody's lane.
Agreed.
All right?
Know your role.
Know your
Sure.
role.
It's like a
Know your
team.
role. Yeah.
So I started building up and up. I went from single family, small 1300s to historic areas like Grant Park, Emmett Park, doing $500,000 flips. The bigger, the better. Learned a lot of lessons. The bigger you get, the harder the hit is when
Yeah.
it don't work out well. So started doing that, and then I got into new construction about 2 years ago. So started doing my first new constructions, and then I realized as a real estate agent, when you start purchasing all these properties, especially if you were the buyer, being the buyer power, the commission you get, because guess what? You don't pay the commission when you're a buyer. The seller does.
Yeah.
So when you get that commission as a buyer, you take them commissions, you put it in your construction deal. So guess what? Now I'm doing my flip for free, and the seller paid for it. So if I'm making 14 off the commission, the seller just gave me my down payment from a hard money lender.
Correct.
Then we rolling. I'm not using money out of my
See,
own
that's
pocket.
the key. What we were just saying. Get your real estate license.
Yes.
Right.
And I'm rolling.
Using those commissions
And
to
moving
funnel,
those commissions to
funnel
funnel
your investment business.
Yep. And I just started staying in the buying power, buying land, and I started to realize if you hunt out land, this is what me and Rashad turned into. I got out of just flips and renovations. Yeah, there's a profit in renovations, but the real profit is in land. So if you can find a great land deal and you're good at learning through the aspects of how to really do design and how you really know how to navigate relationships with vendors, then that was it. Because my key, my specialty anyway is just design work and vision and visualizing how a project flows. And that's my niche. I'm not the sales guy. I leave that to somebody else. South Park will be left to somebody else to sell, but as far as designing and envisioning it, that's me, and that's my lane. And so I started doing that over the last 2 years and catapulted $2.8 million in 2 years.
Amazing.
That's dope.
That's super
I love
dope.
that. So what's the project you guys, because I saw you guys had the grand opening.
Yeah.
Listen, we got the gold. I got the gold.
Gold show. Hey, I
Golden
forgot
show.
to bring it.
You
I got
forgot
I
my
got one for you. I know where you at, so I
Quiana
just
had
pull
the
up.
whole fashion show in the dirt and shit. I'm like, yo, what's going on over there?
Gold shovel,
Yo.
baby.
You know,
how I
she
show
bringing
up.
the flavor. She's showing up. She doing what she doing. I'm like, yo, Watson, what's up? What's going on over here?
I was like, listen, these guys are on to something. We got to get them on the show.
So let's talk about it, man. What are you guys doing right now?
So South Park Cottages is a micro home community, but the process started 3 years ago. It actually started at a dinner
Yep.
where Shaw was in attendance. Actually, Q was at this dinner too. She may not remember it, but we was at this dinner. Our first time I met Shaw, and I was like, yo, I want to talk to you about these tiny houses. He said, man, get out of here with that. Ain't no spread in that, bro.
I know that.
I said, you crazy. I said, and it's less complex. We talking about 500-600 square feet. It's a whole movement. Man, container homes, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I said, look it. I started building them as additional dwelling units. They're ADUs, right? 3 years ago, Atlanta was new to that building code, allowing people to build them. Now, up north, New York, Jersey, they've been on ADUs for a long time, but down south, they just kind of really started that. So people build them in their backyard for Airbnbs, guest houses, pool houses. So I started building them for celebrities and stuff like that. Problem is you build them in other people's backyards, so you can't show them to the public, nor can you publicize them because these people want their privacy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm building these great tiny homes, can't do nothing with them. I take Rashad out a little bit over a year ago, about 6 months ago, to one person's house, and I walked them through it. Now, this person I built this tiny house for is 7 feet tall. So Rashad's like, man, ain't nobody gonna fit in that. I said, yeah, they will. Come on out. You like 6'7". He got in there.
I'm 6'8".
Yeah.
For the record. For the record.
He said, don't dim his light.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6'8". Not bad. So we went out there. He says, yo, immediately Rashad's eyes got big. He said, this the move.
Yo, you know what? I know this. I was at that dinner table.
You sure was.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
You
For
was.
4 years.
4
Yes.
years.
For 4 years.
I remember that.
Yeah. He
And
was,
When you
nonstop.
said that story, I know exactly. All right, we're good.
Nonstop.
so 4 years, like Booker T, every time I talk to him, every time I run into him, it's tiny homes, tiny homes, tiny homes.
Almost to the point where I was not trying to avoid them, but like,
Here you go with this tiny home shit.
again? Like, what the hell are we talking about?
But like he said, we was coming back from the particular person's house, and we was coming up on the exit where another development was being done. And I was like, man, let's pull over now. Like, let's go now. Like, why are we gonna wait? So once we went over to the site, and I actually saw it, and we started going inside them, I was like, this is exactly what we need to be doing. Less build time, less materials, same if not more profit, and it's affordable. I was like, yo, it's checking all the boxes.
Yeah.
Like this only makes sense.
It makes both sense.
So from that point up until this point, 5 months, man, we done went through all the bureaucracy with the city of College Park. We got all our rezonings passed, all our variances passed. We just had our groundbreaking, and now it's time to get the show on the road.
So before we get into the development, right? Because
Yeah.
you mentioned something, right? 4 years ago, you said Atlanta or Georgia as a whole wasn't really big on ADUs until they just changed like the zoning and everything. So for the homeowners out here who's living in Georgia that follow our show, like what is the process? Because a lot of people got garages.
Wait a minute though, let's take it one step back. Can you break down what an ADU is? Because everybody doesn't know what that is.
Let's break down
Everybody's,
the ADU,
break it down.
and then the process to convert, garage or something
to a dwelling unit.
Yeah.
So for everyone, an ADU is a short term for additional dwelling unit. The building code is that typically if you have a guest house right now or a garage space or you think you have some form of livable space, by law, you actually cannot have someone living there long term past 3 months, and you cannot collect rent legally by law, FYI, until you actually have a permanent ADU dwelling unit in your backyard that's zoned and approved. That's the only ways you can charge rent or get any revenue from a living structure in your backyard. That's first. The next part is that additional dwelling unit has to be in the state, in Atlanta anyway, under 700 square feet. So under 700 square feet, if you have a permanent plan built structurally, not on wheels, it can't be recreational, it has to be foundation, which a garage is foundation, an above garage space is foundation. So you can permit that to an additional dwelling unit, it has to be under 700 square feet, and then there you go. You can actually do rent just like an apartment, just like any other house, and it's zoned and approved. And also it adds value to your home because now that is a permanent dwelling unit, it attaches to your real property, and therefore the property value of your house goes up.
Jim.
Major
Jim. Jim.
I didn't know you was gonna break it down.
Now you know.
I told you about my car.
And
I think
didn't it say it's changing?
I got some Jim droppers
And it's
today.
changing in
It's
January.
changing to 1,200.
In January.
So instead of
So
700,
January 2022.
it's changing to
Georgia,
1,200 square feet.
Now it can go up to 1,200 square feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole damn apartment.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That ain't a tiny home.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big
And you
house.
can, and if you have no tree obstruction, you can go straight up in the air because the city of Atlanta is losing in density. They got more people moving in than we got space for. So they're gonna
Just
open
like
up.
Cali.
Yep.
Just like
Yes.
Cali.
They're gonna open it up to move from 700 square feet to 1,200 square feet.
Yeah, in Cali,
gonna be
man,
nice.
you're able to build multiple
Oh, yeah.
ADUs.
Yeah.
You think that's going to be something that's going to happen out here? Because like you said,
I can see it
everybody's not
coming.
working out.
Yeah. Out of necessity, I can see it
Out of
happening.
necessity, there's no more land.
Right.
That's the only thing we can no longer create is land.
Actually, that
And
law
it's-
in
but everybody's
January
coming
will
to it.
allow that. So when that law changes in January, it's going to allow for multiple ADUs if you got the space.
Yeah.
Because they're going to move to a zero lot line. So you can actually butt another ADU right up to the next ADU.
Wow.
Which they've had a buffer and a variance by zone. So they're going to change that in January 2022 in Atlanta. So you look it up.
Damn, that's going to be a major gem. So now
Yeah.
you can
Yes.
take these single
Better get-
families and essentially turn them into multi-families.
Exactly.
Right. So y'all, if y'all watching this, y'all need to get ahead of the curve
ahead of
now
the
because that's coming for sure.
That's
Absolutely.
amazing.
That's dope.
That's,
I
I'm trying
actually
to tell
love
you.
that.
Yeah.
Me too.
I think my budget just went.
Just went up.
Yeah.
Let me tell we don't want to get into the headache.
They're like, yo,
The headache has been to try to help him
for the
buy a
house I'm
house.
looking to buy out.
But now
Yeah.
you see.
Yeah, because I need.
That's now you got the value. Now your budget is matching your
I've
expectations.
learned something today. So now
Absolutely.
I need to have ADUs on my property too.
It makes sense.
Maximize every opportunity that you can. Now, do you have to be a primary residence to do an ADU out here?
Your primary residence has to be over 1,000 square feet.
Okay. But do you have to live in the house to get an ADU
No.
approved? So it can be an investment property.
Absolutely.
You still can do an ADU.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
That's
now you're
amazing.
turning single families into multis.
So let me give you a small gem real quick. So everybody keep up. If you own the real property and you got a primary property on the residence, guess what you can do with that backyard space once you get a permanent ADU? You can land lease that backyard space.
Keep talking. We listen.
So you can subdivide your backyard space, land lease the backyard space. You're paying one mortgage. Keep up. You're paying one mortgage for the whole piece of parcel, right? You can subdivide your backyard space since now you have an approved ADU on the backyard. Land lease the backyard without selling your whole property. Collect the land lease, and when you sell the whole property, you get the land lease money, you get your sale property money, and you got 2 units that sit on that property. Again, the biggest thing, if you're a real estate investor, is I know you spend time on the courtyard steps buying these properties, but the real time needs to be spent inside of these zoning meetings, inside of these community meetings, because that's where the actual millions of dollars are being made. There are companies and big builders that are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year lobbying and sending in basically hired guns into these zoning meetings to get these big developments on land you own. That corner barber shop that got bought and demolished. grandma's house that got bought and demolished. Those people are going to the zoning meetings and getting what they want and turning that $50,000 or $100,000 property into millions. And so when we went through this development process and we started spending more time with the elected officials of College Park and in other places, I looked at Rashad and said, wow, this guy just came in here on an acre of land and went straight up in the air and got him $1 million property.
Wow.
Yeah.
That he bought for nothing but pennies. And I said, you know, what we need to be doing absolutely long term is just spending our time with these elected officials of these communities, because they are the real people making the decisions on how to really exponentially make money in real estate.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, like you said, like going to these zoning meetings is crucial. And I invited a couple of people to our zoning meetings, and they were just thanking me like, man, like you changed my life. Like, because the thing about it is, when you go to these zoning meetings, the city is gonna tell you what they wanna see.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So you can sit in some zoning meetings, and then when you show up to do the prelim, and let's say they say, hey, we need more townhomes, we need more tiny homes. You come in there with it, they like, oh, our prayers been answered. But all you did was do your due diligence and sit in on and see what they really want.
So how does the everyday person, you know, obviously, you know, our audience is global, right? But if you're looking to invest in the U.S., if you are global, or just anybody living anywhere,
right?
How do we find these zoning meetings?
These things are hiding in plain sight. They're right on websites.
Then your local city municipalities, you know, you just log on to ClaytonCounty.com, CollegePark.com, CityOfCollegePark.com. Like it's right there on the website. They gotta publicize it, and they even go live on YouTube.
Wow.
Like, it's no excuse.
There's no excuse.
They on Zoom now. You can do it from your house.
And they will re-air those meetings on YouTube. And in those meetings, they're making major decisions.
But this is where the money is being made.
That's where it's all made.
Like flipping, all that stuff, that's great. But if you really want to get to that next level, I call development like making it to the league in real estate.
Yeah.
Like,
It's high level.
That's the highest level of the game that you can play. And like
PhD
you got
status.
right, and you got to get into these municipalities and see what they want. You know, like we got in with a certain municipality, and so we were pushing our tiny home project, and they was like, can you do a store? I was like, yeah, we can do a store. So now we looking for stores. Like, y'all already told me what you want.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so let's just put a little perspective around what Rashad just said. So when we started designing South Park Cottages, it started with land acquisition. So that's a whole story in itself. We used the off market, we used the wholesaler, okay? Wholesaler laughed at me because he's like, you want this dead end lot in College Park on one of the roughest streets in College Park? Absolutely. He says, what you gonna do with it? Wait on and see. He says, well, you know, it'll never get approved. Okay. We bought that property for $150,000.
How many acres?
What?
3 acres.
3 acres for 100.
First of all, you see how I did like this? Because I was there.
Yeah. And the fun, we overpaid for it, and we knew we overpaid
Yeah,
for it.
because it could have, exactly.
We could have gotten it for lower, but it had a lien attached to it and whatever. But we were committed to the vision, and we knew strategically what we were going to do with it. So we said, fine, we'll do the 150. I even gave the wholesaler a chance to come in and be an equity partner. I said, take your clothes. I said, if you know me, I said, take this lesson. Take your closing money, give it back to me, be an equity partner in the development. You good. He turned us down.
He could have 3 times his money.
He could have
minimum.
Minimum.
Because that's what we was giving away in the beginning.
Well, shit, y'all still taking part?
Hey, hold up. Look. See that? See, it go in phases, right? Like in that first phase, we didn't even have a survey. All we had was the dream.
Yeah.
So of course we was giving the house away. But as we got the boxes checked off,
the risk
you know, there ain't no more risk now.
No more risk now.
Now you know you gotta.
You
you 6 to 8%. You know what I'm saying?
But that was the play in the beginning. But the one thing we knew is we had researched enough to know that it's a movement. The tiny home movement's been out there. It has a big followership. Let me give you a couple facts real quick. Tiny homes from 2017 to 2021, the sales of tiny homes are going up 72%. The average sale of a tiny home, will or not, is $173,000.
Wow.
The cost to build a tiny home, $60,000.
You do the math.
Do the math. That's the same.
It only makes sense. The complexity to construction, lower. Construction costs go up, I don't care. I'm only building 500 square feet.
Still winning.
Still winning. So when I started following those trends and I started introducing it to the city, they was like, this is no-brainer.
Yeah.
No-brainer.
Yeah.
everybody's building these complex builds, or we can go simple build and still make the same amount of money.
It makes more sense.
Makes more sense.
Yeah.
And it's the other big fact. For those people that do buy tiny homes, 62% of them have more net worth than the average person walking the street.
You know why? Minimalistic living.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they're going to stay in a tiny home, chances are they are living in a minimalist space. That means they don't have all these excessive things.
Right.
Correct.
They're not capitalists.
They're right. And that's where a lot of the money and sustainable energy and stuff get played. So I just moved into that space. And then when we started moving in that space, we bought the land for $150. So the numbers around it, right? It's like, well, South Park Cottages, the development's all about entitlement. It's all about entitlement. When you go to these zoning meetings and you start talking to politicians, once they give you privilege and rights, it's worth millions. Off of dirt.
Soon as we left out of soon as we got our last rezoning vote, that $150,000 property turned to at least $350,000.
Wow.
Because it went
Just like
from
that.
we can build 1 unit to now we can build 29 units.
So the park is 29 units total.
Yeah.
29.
Wow.
So as soon as we left out the rezoning meeting, like me and him was celebrating, like, hey.
That's the money.
Like,
the money was made
we
before we
just-
put a
we
gold
just
shovel
took
in
it
the
up.
ground.
Yeah.
So the gold shovel was in the ground. That went from $150,000 to $350,000 to $400,000 in worth because now
Per
I have
house.
the total
the
land.
land.
The
So
land.
The land, yeah.
So I tripled the land without even doing anything on it. I just had to do the due diligence and go to a few zoning meetings.
Right.
And know a vision and have a strategy, which cost me nothing.
Say that one more time.
Good
Costs you
Lord.
See, and
Good
you know
Lord.
that's
It's
my
all
thing.
from the neck
It
up.
costs you nothing
Nothing.
to pay attention.
It costs you nothing just to pay attention.
Yeah.
And I tripled the value of the land without doing anything else. So that's one part, right? So already my investors already got 2 times their money worth because the land's 3 times worth what it is already.
Right. Yeah.
That's part one. But then we break down the homes, right? Just told you what the medium home price are on them, right? 29 units, you do the math, medium home price, and we started in the 180s, started. So if you, started. So, started.
I said that with a deep breath.
Yeah.
You know what that means.
Started,
Starting from the 180s.
Yeah, yeah. That means that joint is
whip out
220 really.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Whip out your calculators, 29 per, $5.7 million community. And all we did was
And how much to build it all?
2.6.
2.6.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
amazing.
basically 6 million, plus the 2.6 plus the 150, and plus whatever your architect survey,
That's done.
Yeah.
whatever you pay for that.
And bigger than that, y'all, I know you're from this area.
That's a nice
So
floor.
you're beautifying the neighborhood.
Right.
See, it's not just about just what you're building and the profits. You're about to change College
Absolutely.
Park.
I'm real big on that, man. Like,
Yes.
I call it gentrification 2.0.
Let's
Like-
talk about that.
Like, we can have the same things that everybody was running to the suburbs for.
Yep.
Like, why can't we build up our own communities? Like, I can't even count how many times people saying, why you doing it? Even one of the council members like, no, you don't need to do that right there. Why not? Why not? We don't deserve to have this type of product here.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Because those
we
same
can't
people,
keep complaining about it if we're not willing to change the narrative.
because those same people renting in those apartments right next door can actually afford to stay in the community.
Absolutely.
Because that's $60,000, $70,000 they make a year, which won't afford them the medium home price in Atlanta, by the
Not
way.
right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Will
It ain't
afford
fair.
them a new modern,
Absolutely.
updated class style.
Now, are you guys doing the 700 square feet, or are you gonna now, since take advantage of the new law that's coming in January, since you didn't technically build yet? You
No.
can now make them 1,200.
Our plan's pretty much locked in.
With plans locked
Okay, so
in.
you can't amend the plans.
Because the city approved them.
Because once we got the variance,
Yep.
like, we can't change.
Just leave it alone.
Yeah.
basically.
Leave it alone.
Yeah.
On the
But
next one, we probably could.
because we already on the
On the
Wait
next
a minute, y'all
We
lost.
already on the second one.
Yeah, so-
We already on the second development.
Hold on, before we move on.
I want you guys to formally introduce South Park Cottages and what the vision is of this community. And I really want people to hear your story about like where you guys are from and why this was important to you.
Yeah.
I feel like people really want to, everybody can make money, but the vision and also giving back to the community and helping to gentrify our own hoods, that's a big deal.
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah, it really important to me. So South Park Cottages really was birthed because I grew up around the corner where this property is located. It's located in College Park, Georgia, Old National Highway and Godby Road. Godby Road is a very synonymous road that's a rough part of that city, okay? developers stay away from that part of the city. But I grew up as a latchkey kid, single mom, took MARTA a lot, hung around the city a lot, did all things a knucklehead kid would do. But I told myself when I was able to ascend to any kind of level, I can flip, and I can flip in any neighborhood I want. I mean, I could go flip in Buckhead if I wanted to, or flip, but I chose to stay in those neighborhoods to change something. And when I talked about the tiny home strategy, I said I can keep them renters. I can keep those single moms in that same community. I don't have to move them out to be rich. I can do well by doing good. I can do well by doing good. So that became our strategy. So in that strategy, we was able to bring to the city that whole perspective. And the city first saw us as developers that only wanted to make money. And their very first answer out the gate when they thought we were just developers who wanted to make money was no. Because they identify, y'all just out here trying to make money. Y'all not trying to do any good in these neighborhoods. But once they realized the whole vision and heard a lot more about my story, then that's where it was. That's how we got to that. And then we coined it and named it to people to be very familiar. That's why it says a College Park community, because that community is of College Park. It's not something, could I have named it after myself or something like that? We had all the naming choices we could have. But that's not what we chose. We chose to label it in the community it serves, and the community it will always serve. And so that's why we left it at South Park Cottages.
Man, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Shit, I would have proved y'all too. It gave me a little emotional on Rants and Gems. It's the first.
It took some convincing though, and even in the preliminary meeting, I'm sitting there with the city inspector, and they's like, why don't you just build townhouses? I said I could build townhouses, but we wouldn't be selling any, we wouldn't be making any difference.
Right.
Like we wouldn't be solving any problem.
You're probably going to displace people because they can't afford
Exactly.
what you need to sell it for.
Exactly.
Right.
So I'm like, we're here to solve problems. So once I took them, and I took them on a field trip, I took the whole city on a field trip to that same developed community that convinced me.
Big move.
Because I'm like, if y'all anything like me, y'all don't want to hear this tiny home stuff anyway, either. But I took them out there once they got on site. Now, it clicked. Like, man.
Like this makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
It's kind of like a mobile home park.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Kinda
And what I
the
like
same
about
thought process.
you guys
Absolutely.
understood that, because there's so many people, like you said, it's high level. And we're grateful enough to have a huge audience with Rants and Gems, right? And we have people that are ready for that high level conversation. Let's get to become developers.
Right.
And going to those meetings and building those relationships. The fact that you was like, okay, you guys with city council, but all of y'all need to come with me and see our vision so we can all be on one page. And I saw they were all there at the group.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
What are the steps to become a developer builder of a tiny home community? Like, give us 3 actionable items that our audience can use, that they can go and Google their life away and start doing their research.
Well, step one, of course, is the market and what they are, and separating the difference between the two. So you have tiny homes, you have micro homes, and you have cottages.
Okay.
All right.
What's the difference between the
There's
three?
a definition for all of them. So a tiny home is something that is typically under 500 square feet, as defined. Okay. A micro home is something that's under 700 square feet, as designed. A cottage, also a Georgia building law, so FYI, the reason why you can name something a cottage is it has to be 400 square feet and under. If it's 400 square feet and under, you can label it a cottage. 500, you can label it a tiny home. Under 700, typically you want to label it a micro home, okay? Now, the difference in all of those is people think of tiny homes and they go Google and YouTube, oh, these are the things on the wheels, right? Those are classified as recreational vehicles. It's not foundation. So if you're going to do anything by a building code, whatever building code you want to use, 2016, 2018, that building code means it has to be foundation, right? So when it becomes foundation, it becomes a dwelling. Once it becomes a dwelling, and if the value, which you already know by the value of the resale, tiny homes are over $100,000 when you purchase them. By mortgage rules, anything over $100,000, mortgageable.
Absolutely.
Right.
So can I get 30 years on them? Yes, but I can't get 30 years on a recreational tiny home.
Correct.
I can get 30 years on a foundation dwelling.
Correct. Because it's a single family property.
Right.
It's a single family property.
At the end of the day.
It is. So they break that down. Now you got a person paying $900 a month for a $180,000, $200,000 mortgage, right?
Yeah.
That would typically pay for the same apartment size, stay with me, $2,500 or $2,000 in Atlanta.
Yes.
So that's how you can, you can weave between the two. And for the developer that understands and starts there by categorizing and understanding your market base, then you got to understand the things the city wants, right? So the next thing to become a developer in micro community is you got to understand what the city planning is, right? First thing, everybody needs to locate who their master planner is in their city location, in their city area. Your master planner is going to define for you what the city for the next 5-10 years want their city to look like. Atlanta has already planned out its next 20 years because the population of Atlanta is going to grow 6 million people in the next 20 years. So the city's already mapping out what it wants its density, its planning to look like. So when you flip, the only thing you're worried about is purchase, construction, comp value, ARV.
Yeah.
When you're developing, you're thinking about overall community development, long-term numbers, marketplace, the marketplace of the actual structure you're trying to build, and also long-term planning with the city. When you get all of those in play, then you're talking about millions of dollars. Let me give you an example. If you go around Atlanta, all you see is apartment buildings being built everywhere you see. You thought that long money started just last year in planning for those apartment buildings? No.
Yes.
Those people have been planning for years on inflation. They love y'all making money in the stock market right now. Crypto, go crazy. You know what we're going to do? We're going to raise interest rates. We're going to raise the prices.
Yep.
Right? Yesterday's price, not today's price. So when the price go up, big money's playing on what? Y'all going to rent because y'all can't afford it no more. The price value of the home done going to $400,000. Y'all can't get that. So come rent these apartments. We got moderate luxury amenities for you and a gym, $2,500 a month. The micro movement and developing the micro movement reverse engineers all of that. And so I started planning that 2 years ago when big money was planning y'all renting apartments.
Oh, yeah.
So that is the next stage. You got to understand the economic movement. Shout out to Earn Your Leisure. You got to pay attention to Market Mondays. When they're talking about inflation and interest rate and those types of things, that is part of the conversation when you're talking about development.
It all plays a part.
It all plays a part.
You know what I think is really interesting is, like, now you got me thinking about the bigger picture. You know, I've been out there.
Yep.
So now you go from building this micro community and look at the developments you can create around it. You can create commercial opportunities right across the street.
Right.
You could I would say rehabilitate the actual apartments there. You could build another type of tiny community in the neighborhood next door. So now you have an opportunity to not just do one thing, but proper planning, research, and preparation. You guys can think bigger. Like you said, you have an opportunity to do something with a department store now.
Right.
Yeah, that's huge. Look, I think this has been a lot of information. First,
Watch it twice.
I'm not even gonna hold that up because I'm sitting here like my mind is just like, damn, ADUs. What you call them, micro homes?
Micro homes.
Micro homes. Like, I need it all right
I don't
now.
never get the credit I deserve. I want my credit right now, MG.
Look.
Who pushed them to get on the show?
You damn sure did.
I stood strong in it.
I said, you said, yo. First of all, I saw you at the fashion show at the damn thing. And I said, yo, Quiana just do not play around. Like, don't she know it's dirt? And she out here just big stepping.
That's valuable dirt, bro.
That's
She out here
big stepping, right? She out here big stepping. But then she was like, nah, these dudes are dope, blah, blah, blah. They doing the tiny homes. I was like, yo, tiny homes.
Yes.
I'm like, people are in the DMs asking about tiny homes.
Because now we're understanding, you know, what inflation, you know, you have that big gap, that wealth gap is really getting big.
It's huge.
And you have people that are like, it's even people making money, like, you know what, I'm ready to let me lower my standard of living a little bit. Let me calm down. Do I need this huge mansion, 10,000 square feet? Or am I going to be happy and comfortable in this space?
Yeah, because those utility bills are going up.
Look, the maintenance.
It costs to have a 10,000 square foot
It
house.
costs.
It ain't just a mortgage payment.
Yes,
No,
right.
A lot of people don't even factor that in.
No,
It's the whole
utilities are expensive. They're up
It's
and
the
stuck.
maintenance.
Yep.
The utilities are up and stuck in the world right now.
Yeah.
So I
Correct.
think this is a huge movement.
Yep.
The ADU zoning change coming in January 22 out here, I think is like, that is humongous.
That's crazy.
That's
But-
insane.
But that's tied into what we saying. Like, you wouldn't know that unless you was going to these zoning meetings.
Yes.
Like,
Right.
it's hiding in plain sight. I want to challenge everybody, man, wherever you at, man, go to your local municipality, man, and go to one of these zoning, any kind of meeting. It could be a zoning, variance. Just get in there and just see what the talk is.
Look, hashtag zoning challenge.
Yes.
Zoning challenge.
Zoning challenge.
Zoning challenge. We need to
Right.
see that in the comments.
Yes.
We need to see
Yes.
that on Instagram. If you go to a zoning meeting,
Just
hashtag
hashtag
zoning
zoning
challenge.
challenge.
So that way we're going to repost
Because this is
that.
high level.
Yeah.
This is high level. We want to see our people out here executing because
Mm-hmm.
look, like you said, it's hot in plain sight. I had no clue
Mm-hmm.
as to this was happening out here in Georgia like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for them, I didn't even know they just changed this law like 3 years ago to even allow ADUs.
Yeah.
To now they're going to even enhance it to make it look more like Cali to mirror that.
It needs
Yes.
to.
And it needs to because, like you said, 6 million people are slated to move to Wakanda.
They love it here. Why not?
That's right.
Like
mean,
it's crazy.
it's amazing.
So to see you guys doing what you're doing to build a whole 29 units.
It's really
Well,
amazing.
I can't call them units, but 29
29
homes.
micro
29
homes.
micro homes. Like that's phenomenal.
Wait a minute, you didn't tell your slogan because I liked your slogan when I saw it you got to tell your slogan.
Oh, so the slogan of South Park Cottages is live more abundantly. Because when you
Live
go
more
small,
abundantly.
people think, well, I'm diminishing something. No, you're not. You're actually sprouting out in life. You're living life. When you get into micro communities, you're experiencing life more abundantly because I can go travel. I have reduced utility bills. I got somebody to watch the dog. I got a neighboring community that's real close to my kids because I got my kid living right next door. We're bridging out what used to be this compacted living in apartments to communal living. That's the best part about this micro home movement. And that actually releases all of the bonds that have you from doing the things you know. How many real estate agents do you have that might be a single mom? Oh, I can't do it. I gotta watch my kid.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have anybody to dog sit. I can't travel. Oh, I can't bring my dog on the flight or whatever the case is. That releases all of that in that communal living, which micro community living does. Reason why we termed it living more abundantly.
I love
I
it.
love that.
I love it.
I'm going to steal that.
I love it.
Shout out to Quiana Watson.
Yo.
for pushing this episode.
And I'm asking the question. Okay. With my people.
You asked the question.
All
Let me
right,
get
all
my
right.
sip
You
of
guys
wine.
have done an amazing job
I'm
today.
low.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, what we need to hear from you, we need a rant and a gem about your industry. And I need you both to give me a rant and a gem, and I mean, give it to us. Give it to us like y'all been giving us these gems this whole time.
I'll start off because I already know what book I already know what book we'll get into. But I'll just start off and say, man, for my rant is anybody want to really get in this game, man? Like, stop trying to skip the process.
Yeah.
You can't skip the process. Like, I know a lot of people, you know, we watch YouTube, we fall in love with these people on these podcasts and things like that. But at some point, you're gonna have to get out there and get your hands dirty. At some point, it's gonna have to go from theory to practical experience. You really got to get out here and actually do it. So I want to challenge everybody, like, actually, you know, pull the trigger on your dreams, man. Respect your passion.
Love that.
Love it.
My biggest rant is nobody gonna want it more than you. Period. We were, 2 days before closing? Whole investment team dropped out.
We had to raise $200,000.
200,000 in 6 days.
Wow.
From nothing, zero.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead.
And so we getting everything. Guys got the wrong street, guys got the wrong land, guys got the wrong community, guys got the wrong idea. And these are people that had committed that they was gonna follow the plan, right? But we believed in us more than anybody else. The biggest thing about doing business and this part about real estate development, because development is all about a community, right? And it's another podcast talk about equity and you know, limited liability partners and that type of thing, general partners. But the biggest thing is if you're bringing on people with you, you can't be dependent upon those people. You got to believe more in yourself than they believe, because if they drop out on you, what you gonna do? Drop your dream?
Yeah.
Right. And we really could have, like,
We could
we could have folded.
Yeah,
We could have folded.
Man, they pulled the rug under us 2 days
Yeah.
before closing. Like,
Whoa.
throw our hands up. But no, we got to it. We got to the wholesalers. Hey, we need an extension. We need more earnest money.
Nothing. Done.
Yeah.
Done.
Whatever it takes. And we went from 0 to 5.7.
Y'all just
Wow.
inspired me.
That
I'll
was
tell you later
beautiful.
why you did, but you just inspired me. Okay, now we got to hear your gem.
God give you lemons, make lemonade.
Always.
For the gym, learn from your losses and celebrate your wins, man. And that goes back to your process. Like, it's gonna be a long process. It's gonna be some highs, some lows, but you just gotta know that you're gonna figure it out. And I'm speaking from my own experience.
Yeah.
Like I came in the real estate game fresh off the court, didn't know nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I was determined to figure it out. I'm talking about I was out here 6'8", out here in the hot sun, door knocking. Like nobody want no giant coming up, hey, you wanna sell your house? But I did everything that I was told to do until I really got my own knowledge and I figured out what my lane was. So, you know what I'm saying? So I would say, you know, celebrate your wins, learn from your losses.
Dope.
I love that.
Absolutely. You might be hot shit, but you're nothing. And you got to know your lane. So the biggest part I would say in the gym, in this gym, is me and Rashad was making money before we started developing. But the biggest part is we humbled ourselves and knowing we both individually hot shit, but we know our lane. So my biggest thing is you got to know your lane and stay committed into that. And that's what makes everything come true. The biggest gym I ever learned was Shad run his play in his lane. He depends on me to run my lane. We run them hard, 1,000%.
Press.
We don't never panic. Investors drop out, no panic. We doing filibusters on zoning meetings that trying to get them, convince them to, no panic, because we run hard in our lane. I might be more of a spokesman, but I can depend on Rashad to go get the bread we need. So there's a lot of people in business. There's a lot of entrepreneurs out there. A lot. There's a big entrepreneurial movement right now. You might be an entrepreneur and you might be real hot, but you gotta know you really not. You gotta know your lanes, know how to run them lanes, and the more you do that, the bigger you do become.
Yeah, stop thinking you bigger than what you
That's
really
his
are.
favorite.
Right.
I'm saying
That's
when
my
I look
favorite
right
line.
at Matt, that's his favorite
That's my
line.
favorite line.
Yeah.
A lot of people out here think they're bigger than what they really are, and you ain't shit.
Right.
I'm
Yep.
sorry. I just have to say it.
You're not, and then that's the biggest gem we've got out of being developers. And like I said, we already on them.
Yeah.
We
And
already
we
on
was doing this thing remote.
remote.
Like, he was in New York.
Look.
I live in New York. He lives here. And then we just made a decision. I'm gonna relocate here. He was like, look.
About time.
He was like, bro, we talking $10, $15 million in plays in the next year. What we doing?
Like, hey,
What are you doing?
Yeah,
might-
what
you
are
might
we
wanna
doing?
join.
What are we doing?
Hey, what's the 2 weeks been, man?
What are we doing? I can move to. I'm out here twice a month. I'm about to buy a crib with Quiana out here. Like, what are we doing, fellas?
So, and like I said, it all started on what didn't cost nothing. It cost us our effort and our commitment. It didn't cost us nothing to start.
From the neck up.
From the neck up.
It's like playing basketball, man.
That's dope.
80% of the game from the neck up.
That's
Yeah.
a fact. Everything's mental in life.
Mental.
Everything's mental. 20% is execution.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
You guys are some executors.
Nah,
for sure.
you guys are some certified gym droppers.
Gym droppers.
100%. So
Yes.
tell the people how to find you.
Yes.
You can find me on Instagram, Mr_Booker_T, or you can find me at Level Minded Concepts, or you can definitely find us at South Park Cottages, all one word. You got to join the park. You got to join the movement, live more abundantly, because there's a lot more to come.
It's gonna be hard to follow that up, but I'm gonna tell you where to find me. postpro_Shadzilla on Instagram and YouTube.
Look,
I appreciate y'all.
there you guys have it, man. This has been another phenomenal episode. I learned a lot.
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I learned a lot, even with the ADUs and just understanding your vision. Like, I was moved when I came out there, but just to really sit down with you guys and hear your passion, like, you're changing communities while changing your own personal lifestyles, and that is a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for coming out.
Look,
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
follow these gentlemen. This is more to follow because I'm going to get in one of these deals.
I'm already in.
Look, yo, y'all hear that? She said she
Hold
already
on.
in.
Y'all remember?
Y'all hear this?
I'm not in that group chat. Y'all remember that?
Oh, you see, she gonna talk about the group chat now, right? But look, Matt Garland, NMLS number 58700, better known as MG the Mortgage Guy.
And my name is Quiana Watson, broker extraordinaire, license number 317576. And thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of the Rants and Gems Show.
Peace.
Hey yo, speak my rants and gems. Speak my rants and gems. Y'all can do it, we discover. Peace to all the kings and the queens where the mother lie. Speak my rants and gems. Speak my rants and gems. Y'all can do it, we discover. Peace to all the kings and the queens where the mother lie.